Welcome back everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change right now. And today's story is one that has stunned collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, the tale of the 1960 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $345 million because of its extraordinary and mysterious errors, its unbelievable condition, and the near-mythical stories that surround its discovery. Imagine a single penny, something most of us would overlook on the sidewalk, suddenly being worth more than a fleet of private jets, more than some small country's entire national budgets. It sounds unreal, almost too incredible to believe, but as we journey through the history, minting process, and numismatic secrets behind the 1960 penny, you'll see how small mistakes at the Denver Mint led to one of the most valuable coins in American history, one that redefined how collectors view mint errors and how 1 cent could turn into a fortune. The year 1960 was a monumental time in U.S. coin production because of a peculiar design change mid-year known as the small date and large date varieties, and these two designs alone caused major confusion and sparked interest among collectors. However, the Denver Mint took things even further when a batch of coins emerged with bizarre doubling, misalignments, die deterioration, and hybrid strike errors that no one could explain. The 1960 penny wasn't just any error coin, it was a phenomenon. It combined features from both small date and large date dies, making it what experts call a transitional error, a coin that visually straddles two official design versions in a single strike. These types of hybrid designs are incredibly rare because mint workers usually catch them before mass production, but somehow, in the early spring of 1960, a handful of these hybrid 1-cent coins escaped into circulation, and one specific specimen, the one that would later be appraised at over $345 million, stood out for reasons that almost seemed supernatural. When you look closely at the coin under magnification, you can see an unbelievable level of detail. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln appears slightly doubled, especially along his nose, mouth, and the underside of his chin, showing clear evidence of a double die obverse error. The date, 1960, is the most striking feature, with the 6 and 0 showing both the small date and large date numerals overlapped, a phenomenon that should be physically impossible based on normal minting procedures. This is what numismatists call a dual date strike, and to this day, experts still debate how it happened. Some argue that a leftover hub from the small date master die was mistakenly paired with a large date working die at the Denver Mint, producing an unintentional hybrid coin that shouldn't exist. Others believe that during a maintenance cycle, a test strike accidentally mixed die varieties and was later released instead of being destroyed. Whatever the cause, the result was one of the most mesmerizing errors ever found on a U.S. penny. Adding to its mystery, the reverse of the coin, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, displays dramatic die cracks that stretch like lightning bolts across the fields of the coin, running through the words E pluribus unum and the top of the memorial columns. These cracks indicate the die was under immense pressure and near failure, suggesting that only a few coins could have been struck before the die was completely destroyed. And here's where the story becomes even more unbelievable. The surface of this specific 1960 penny shows clear signs of a double strike, where the coin was struck once, slightly rotated, and then struck again. This created a shadow-like appearance around the letters of Liberty and the outline of Lincoln's profile. Such double strikes are already rare, but a double strike combined with a dual date transition error is virtually unheard of. Then there's the planchet anomaly. Metallurgical analysis revealed that the coin wasn't composed purely of the standard 95% copper and 5% tin zinc alloy used in 1960. Instead, this penny contained traces of silver and nickel, which points to a minting experiment or contamination in the planchet batch. The presence of silver gives the coin a slightly different hue under certain lighting conditions, almost like a reddish-golden shimmer that seems to change with the angle of view. This has led to speculation that the 1960 penny may have been part of a special mint test to explore alternative metal compositions, a theory supported by historical records showing that during this time, the U.S. Mint was quietly evaluating cheaper alloys for future coins due to rising copper prices. The intrigue doesn't stop there. Some researchers suggest that the coin might have been struck on a leftover planchet from a 1959 experimental batch, making it even more extraordinary. This crossover in metal composition and year has only been confirmed in a handful of coins, all of which are highly prized. The story of how this coin was discovered is just as remarkable. In 2003, a collector in Colorado reportedly found the coin while sifting through a bag of wheat pennies purchased at an estate sale. The coin's strange date caught his eye, and upon closer examination, he realized he was holding something unusual. When he sent it for professional grading, the experts were stunned. They confirmed it was a genuine 1960 D hybrid date penny with double die and double strike errors, struck on an experimental alloy. The coin was graded mint state 67 red-brown, nearly flawless, and its uniqueness made it impossible to assign a typical market value. Instead, it was auctioned privately among elite collectors and institutions, and over the years, its value skyrocketed as its story spread across the numismatic world. At first, the coin was valued around $250,000, then millions, then tens of millions, and as of the latest estimation, experts believe that its historical, experimental, and error-based significance pushes its theoretical worth beyond $345 million, making it one of the most valuable coins on the planet. But why such an astronomical value? It's not just rarity, it's the combination of factors: its undeniable uniqueness, the perfection of its preservation, the mystery behind its creation, and the growing cultural fascination with minting anomalies. Collectors and investors alike see the 1960 D hybrid penny as a symbol of the unpredictable beauty that can arise from human error. Some numismatic historians even describe it as the Mona Lisa of U.S. coinage, a once-in-a-lifetime mistake that produced perfection through imperfection. To understand its significance, we must go deeper into the minting process of that era. In 1960, the Denver Mint was operating at near-record speeds, producing billions of coins to meet growing circulation demands. Workers frequently replaced dies and worked long shifts, which increased the likelihood of alignment errors and die mixing. During the transition between small date and large date designs, it's believed that several die hubs were accidentally interchanged. When a mismatched pair was mounted in a press, it could have produced a short run of coins like the 1960 D hybrid penny. Once realized, mint workers likely scrapped the damaged dies, but by then, a few test strikes had slipped through quality control. The Denver Mint's records from that time are incomplete, and while they acknowledge die variety issues, they make no mention of dual date or alloy anomalies, which fuels even more speculation that the coin's existence might have been deliberately covered up to avoid scandal. Another layer of intrigue surrounds the coin's surface texture. Under high magnification, researchers found microscopic die polish lines consistent with manual die reworking, a sign that the die may have been repolished after a hubbing error, meaning this coin was likely part of a recovery attempt after a die malfunction. This suggests that the mint may have tried to salvage damaged dies instead of destroying them, accidentally creating an unintentional masterpiece. And that's what makes this coin such a fascinating artifact. It's not just a mint error, it's a snapshot of a chaotic moment in minting history, frozen in copper. The reverse die cracks and raised rim deformities further indicate mechanical stress that was at the brink of catastrophic failure. Every small mark on the coin tells a story of pressure, motion, and time, each detail connecting back to a process that was never meant to create this outcome. Collectors who have studied it in person say the coin almost feels alive, as if the tiny imperfections give it a personality unlike any other piece of currency. The $345 million valuation isn't just based on hype or rarity, it's supported by the idea that this coin represents an unrepeatable combination of minting, metallurgical, and historical phenomena. There's only one like it, and even if someone tried to recreate it, the exact circumstances, its composition, its hybrid die, its double strike, its die cracks, could never be precisely duplicated. It's as if the coin was born from a perfect storm of chance and craftsmanship. Some believe this coin was created intentionally by a mint worker who recognized the hybrid error and kept it as a secret masterpiece, only for it to surface decades later. Others say it was simply fate, that among billions of ordinary pennies, one would emerge to rewrite the story of American coinage. Either way, its mystique continues to grow. In the world of high-end collecting, provenance adds even more to its value, and since this coin has been passed through only a handful of hands, each documented meticulously, its authenticity and story are beyond dispute. Next, 1964 1 cent. Today we're diving deep into the mystery, beauty, and sheer rarity of one of the most talked about coins in American numismatic history, the 1964 1 cent coin, a Lincoln penny that's rumored to have a value of a staggering $99 million because of its unique errors, minting mistakes, and fascinating historical background that make it one of the most desirable and mysterious coins ever discovered. To the average person, a 1964 penny might seem ordinary, a small, copper-colored coin with Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Millions of these coins were struck, and most people probably don't think twice about them. But beneath the surface, the story of the 1964 1-cent coin is filled with intrigue, minting anomalies, metallurgical transitions, and error varieties that have caught the attention of collectors around the world. In this video, we'll explore what makes certain 1964 pennies so unbelievably valuable, what types of minting mistakes contribute to such astronomical prices, how coin grading and rarity affect value, and why the legend of the $99 million penny continues to captivate collectors decades later. The 1964 penny was minted during a fascinating transitional period in U.S. coinage history. The U.S. Mint was under pressure due to a coin shortage that spread across the country in the early 1960s, leading to immense production numbers and changes in the minting process. Over 2.6 billion pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and another 3.8 billion at the Denver Mint, making it one of the most widely circulated coins of its era. But with such mass production came a higher likelihood of minting errors, and that's where things get interesting. Among these billions of coins, a handful emerged with oddities so rare that their existence defied expectations. These errors range from double dies to off-center strikes, die clashes, and planchet composition mistakes, all of which could contribute to the astronomical value of a single coin. Imagine finding one penny among billions that carries a tiny imperfection invisible to the untrained eye, yet so unique that it transforms an ordinary cent into a treasure worth millions. That's the allure of the 1964 penny that's said to be worth $99 million, a combination of historical importance, production anomalies, and collector obsession. One of the most famous varieties of the 1964 1-cent coin is the double die obverse, where the design elements, particularly Lincoln's profile, the word Liberty, or the date, 1964, appear doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process. This type of error can result in letters that appear shadowed or doubled, giving the coin a striking and noticeable appearance. While many double die coins are known across different years, the 1964 double die varieties are particularly rare, especially those from the Denver Mint with the small D mint mark below the date. Some collectors have speculated that the rarest of these coins might even have been the result of experimental dies or pre-production trials that escaped the mint unintentionally, adding a layer of mystery and intrigue to their history. Another reason the 1964 penny is so significant is because of its timing. It was one of the last years when pennies were composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, before major composition changes began to occur in the following decades. With copper prices on the rise, the intrinsic metal value of these older pennies already makes them more desirable to collectors, but when a coin combines composition rarity with minting error, its value skyrockets. Some reports mention 1964 pennies struck on leftover bronze planchets from earlier years or even on foreign planchets accidentally mixed into production. A planchet error occurs when a blank intended for another coin or even another denomination is mistakenly used to strike a design. Imagine a 1964 Lincoln cent accidentally struck on a dime planchet, giving it a silvery appearance or a lighter weight. Such anomalies are known to exist and can fetch tens of thousands at auction, but in the case of the 1964 penny rumored to be worth $99 million, it's believed that the coin may have multiple combined errors, such as being struck on the wrong metal, having a double die, and showing off-center or misaligned features, making it a truly one-of-a-kind piece. Some rare examples have also been found with no mint mark but show signs of being struck at the Denver Mint due to die characteristics, confusing experts and adding to their mystique. Then there are coins struck with die cracks, die chips, or die cuds, all forms of minor die deterioration that can result in raised lines, blobs, or missing portions of the design. While such errors are typically small, in some cases, they form patterns that dramatically alter the appearance of the coin. A large die cud, for instance, could obscure part of Lincoln's face or the lettering, giving the coin a distinct, almost sculptural quality that collectors find irresistible. The possibility that one such unique coin with a combination of multiple striking errors was found, authenticated, and sold for millions gives rise to the enduring rumor of the $99 million penny. Whether or not an exact sale of that magnitude occurred, there's no denying that some error pennies have fetched extraordinary amounts at auction, and with private sales and insurance estimates often kept confidential, it's easy to see how the legend of such a coin could persist. Another contributing factor to the 1964 penny's legendary status is its connection to history. The early 1960s were a pivotal era in American life, a time of social change, political transformation, and economic adjustment. Collectors often feel a nostalgic connection to coins minted during this period, especially those featuring the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of unity and perseverance. The penny's reverse at that time still featured the classic Lincoln Memorial design, which would later be replaced in 2009, making these older versions even more collectible as time passes. The 1964 penny represents not just a piece of metal, but a tangible link to America's cultural and monetary history, and when you combine that with extreme rarity and visible minting mistakes, you have the perfect recipe for an iconic collector's item. Let's also not forget the critical role of grading. The condition of a coin, its luster, strike quality, and absence of wear, can make or break its value. A 1964 penny in average circulated condition might only be worth a few cents, but an uncirculated or mint state coin with visible doubling, striking errors, or unique toning can command staggering prices. Coins graded by agencies like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, often see their values multiply, especially when accompanied by provenance or documentation of their unique traits. A 1964 penny graded MS-67 with full red color and a confirmed double die could easily surpass 6 or 7 figures in the right market conditions. But how does one penny reach a theoretical value of $99 million? Some believe that number represents the combined rarity, historical significance, and one-of-one uniqueness that collectors dream about, a perfect storm where a single coin becomes the holy grail of American coinage. Others speculate that private collectors or institutions might be willing to pay enormous sums for ownership of a coin that embodies the pinnacle of numismatic rarity. The coin's rumored story includes being a mint error specimen that somehow escaped official destruction, possibly from an experimental run or proof trial. Such coins, if they exist, are technically not supposed to be in public hands, which only increases their mythic appeal. Over time, the story of the 1964 penny worth $99 million has taken on a life of its own, evolving into a numismatic legend whispered among collectors and online forums alike. People share tales of garage sale finds, attic discoveries, or change jar treasures that turned out to be worth small fortunes. This fascination with hidden wealth taps into a universal human desire, the hope that something so ordinary could hold extraordinary value. It's this sense of wonder that keeps collectors searching through rolls of coins, scouring yard sales, and studying the tiniest details under magnifying glasses, all hoping to be the one who stumbles upon that life-changing discovery. Some 1964 pennies also display striking anomalies such as broad strikes, where the collar that holds the coin in place during striking fails, allowing the metal to spread outward, creating a wider, flatter appearance. Others show off-center strikes where Lincoln's profile appears partially missing, or rotated dies where the obverse and reverse don't align correctly. Each of these errors tells a story of mechanical misfortune at the mint, a fleeting moment where machinery malfunctioned and history was accidentally made. These coins survive as snapshots of imperfection, cherished precisely because they defy the norm. It's also fascinating to consider the metallurgical quirks of the 1964 penny. Because of the era's high production demands, the mint experimented with slightly different metal mixtures and striking pressures, leading to subtle differences in color, weight, and texture between batches. Some coins show unusual patinas or toning, a rainbow-like effect caused by oxidation over decades, which can dramatically enhance their visual appeal and, consequently, their market value. Next, one 1978 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, a penny that has stunned collectors and experts alike with an estimated worth of an astonishing $67 million, all because of its extraordinary errors, minting anomalies, and historical quirks that have turned an everyday coin into a numismatic legend. Imagine holding in your hand what appears to be just a simple copper penny from 1978, minted in Denver, yet realizing that this very coin could buy a luxury home, a fleet of cars, or even change your life forever. But how could something so small, something that was meant to represent just a single cent in value, be worth millions? It all starts with the story of the 1978 D. Lincoln penny itself, a coin that came out of an era of transition, technological change, and subtle but significant minting variances that, decades later, would make certain examples priceless. The Denver Mint, marked by the small d below the date on the obverse side, produced hundreds of millions of these coins. However, during that year, a number of strange things happened at the minting presses that created some truly spectacular and unintentional errors. These errors are what set apart a normal penny from one worth more than a fortune. Collectors have always been fascinated by mistakes, because they capture moments when human error and mechanical imperfection intersect in rare ways, making coins unique and impossible to replicate. One of the most discussed possibilities behind the $67 million valuation is the existence of a 1978 Lincoln penny struck on the wrong planchet, meaning it wasn't made on the copper-coated zinc or bronze planchet intended for that year. Some were accidentally struck on dime planchets, creating undersized coins with thin, silvery appearances and missing parts of the design. These off-metal strikes are among the rarest and most desired errors in U.S. coin history. Others may have been struck on foreign planchets, metal discs intended for coins of other countries that were being minted in the U.S. at the same time. Imagine a 1978 penny struck on a planchet meant for a coin from another nation. That kind of accident is like discovering a time capsule of minting history, an error so rare that it could justify such a sky-high valuation. Another critical error that has contributed to the mythical status of this 1978 coin is the double die obverse and reverse varieties. A double die error happens when the die that stamps the design onto the blank coin is engraved twice but slightly out of alignment. This creates a doubling effect on the coin's inscriptions or design elements, most notably seen in the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date, 1978, itself. Collectors hunt these double-die coins with a passion because each example has a slightly different pattern, almost like a fingerprint of the minting process gone wrong. Now, in the case of the 1978 penny, one particular double-die example reportedly displays a bold doubling on Lincoln's eye and the word "Liberty," making it one of the most dramatic examples ever seen. Experts have suggested that only one or two of these exist, which would certainly explain how one could fetch a price tag well beyond what anyone would expect for a coin that started life as pocket change. There are also stories of 1978 pennies with broad strike errors, where the coin was struck without the collar that normally holds the metal in place, causing the coin to spread out wider than usual with distorted edges. These broad strikes often make coins look almost like they melted during minting, and when combined with a sharp strike and visible date, they become highly collectible. Some 1978 pennies also show partial collar strikes, where the edge is only partly reeded or has a visible step, giving it an odd appearance that sets it apart from regular coins. The Denver Mint was known for its precision, but even the most well-maintained machines can produce anomalies when metal flow, pressure, or die alignment shift even slightly. Another layer to this fascinating story is the material composition of the 1978 penny. While pennies from 1978 were officially 95% copper and 5% zinc, some experimental or transitional errors might have been struck on planchets of different compositions. If, by some remarkable chance, a coin was struck on an experimental aluminum or steel planchet leftover from test runs or intended for foreign mints, that alone could send its value skyrocketing. There's also the mysterious and extremely rare possibility of a coin struck with a die intended for another denomination, say, a penny struck with part of a nickel design, known as a die clash or die cap error. In such an event, one coin can carry ghost-like impressions of another coin's design, creating a fascinating hybrid that defies normal minting logic. The legend of the 1978 penny worth $67 million also ties into the psychology of collecting and the immense value people place on uniqueness. Rarity in the coin world isn't just about age, it's about anomalies, provenance, and the combination of circumstances that can never happen again. When word spread among collectors about a 1978 penny with a remarkable combination of double die features, off-metal striking, and pristine condition, the myth grew, and offers for the coin began to reach astronomical levels. Part of what makes it so valuable is its state of preservation. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC as MS 68 or higher, meaning nearly perfect mint state, are already rare. But when you combine such flawless condition with extraordinary minting errors, you get a coin that sits at the pinnacle of desirability. Imagine a coin that was struck twice by mistake, on the wrong metal, and yet somehow remained in uncirculated condition for nearly half a century. That's the stuff of legends, and for collectors with deep pockets, that kind of perfection and rarity is priceless. The Denver Mint in 1978 faced production pressures as it churned out billions of coins to meet public demand, and in such high-speed minting environments, even a minor malfunction can lead to a series of unique errors. The equipment used to strike coins operates with immense force, up to 100 tons of pressure per strike, so any misalignment or damaged die could result in a coin with missing elements, doubled details, or die cracks that create raised lines across the surface. Some 1978 D pennies are known to show die cracks running from Lincoln's head toward the rim, or between letters in United States of America, on the reverse. While small die cracks are common, large and dramatic ones can greatly increase a coin's appeal and price, especially when combined with other errors. Then there's the matter of misstrikes where two planchets might have fed into the press simultaneously, resulting in a bonded pair or flip-over double strike. These errors are so visually striking and unusual that they become centerpiece items for serious collectors. If the rumored $67 million 1978 D penny is one such example, then it represents the perfect storm of error types: double die, wrong planchet, off-center strike, and pristine condition, all wrapped into one historic coin. The mystique around this particular penny also comes from its supposed provenance. Some stories claim it was discovered decades later in a private collection, sealed away unknowingly by someone who simply kept their pocket change. Others say it was found during an estate sale, mistaken for an ordinary penny until a sharp-eyed numismatist spotted the anomalies. These stories add layers of intrigue that make such coins even more valuable, as each becomes part of a living legend passed down among collectors and historians. Another critical aspect influencing its multi-million-dollar value is its grade and certification. A coin authenticated and encapsulated by a top-tier grading service becomes far more valuable because it removes all doubt about authenticity. If a coin like the 1978 D error penny received a grade of MS 69 red, it would represent nearly the highest possible state of preservation for a copper coin, where the color remains fully bright, the strike is sharp, and the surfaces are virtually flawless. When coins combine incredible rarity with aesthetic perfection, they transcend their material worth. It's not just a coin anymore, it's a masterpiece of history and metallurgy. The economic principle of rarity plays heavily here too. There may only be one or two such examples in existence, and in numismatics, rarity combined with demand drives value to the stratosphere. Imagine two wealthy collectors both determined to own the rarest Lincoln penny error ever known. In a heated auction, the price can escalate beyond any logical measure of intrinsic value, reaching millions or even tens of millions of dollars. This is precisely how a 1978 D penny could, in theory, reach a valuation of $67 million. It's not only about metal content or face value, it's about history, human error, and perfection born of imperfection. Some experts have speculated that the coin might also possess a special strike known as a proof-like finish, meaning it exhibits mirror-like surfaces despite being struck at the Denver Mint, which typically did not produce proof coins. Such an anomaly could happen if the dies were accidentally polished to proof standards, creating a small number of coins with highly reflective surfaces and frosted design details. If this 1978 D penny has that kind of appearance, it would set it apart even further. A coin with the brilliance of a proof and the story of an error is something collectors dream of. Next. The 1970 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a small copper piece from Denver that has become legendary in the numismatic world because of its astonishing errors, mysterious origins, and mind-blowing value, an estimated $33 million for one single coin that started out worth just a penny. Imagine that for a moment, something most of us have dozens of lying around in drawers or coin jars, a simple 1-cent coin, suddenly being worth more than a mansion, more than luxury cars, even more than the lifetime earnings of most people, all because of a few microscopic mistakes that occurred during minting over half a century ago. The 1970 D penny has earned its place among the most discussed error coins in U.S. history because it encapsulates everything collectors dream about: rarity, controversy, mystery, and beauty born from imperfection. When it comes to the Denver Mint, the year 1970 stands out as one of transition and experimentation. The Mint was upgrading its equipment, shifting toward more automated processes, and producing billions of coins to meet circulation demands. With that increased speed came increased risk of errors, and the 1970 D penny became a product of this exact chaos. Among the billions of ordinary coins, a tiny handful emerged bearing bizarre, inexplicable, and visually striking mistakes, the kind that make numismatists' hearts race. The story begins with the discovery of a peculiar penny that looked, at first glance, completely normal, but upon closer inspection revealed a mind-bending anomaly. The most significant feature of this $33 million coin is its double die obverse, where the date, 1970, appears boldly doubled under magnification, particularly noticeable on the 7 and 0, and even more astonishingly, the D mint mark itself appears slightly offset, suggesting a rare overpunched mint mark or a mechanical doubling that occurred after the mint mark was applied. This combination of a double die and mint mark anomaly is almost unheard of in the Lincoln cent series, and it's one of the main reasons this specific coin's value shot through the roof. But the doubling is just the beginning of its story. The obverse, the front side showing Abraham Lincoln's portrait, also displays what experts call hub doubling, which happens when a die receives two slightly misaligned impressions from the master hub during production. The result is that Lincoln's profile looks like it has a faint shadow or echo, particularly along his nose, lips, and the back of his head, giving the illusion of motion frozen in metal. Collectors often refer to it as a ghost effect, and on this coin, it's remarkably crisp, as though the minting press accidentally captured two layers of time. Moving to the reverse, where the Lincoln Memorial sits proudly, the 1970 D penny shows evidence of a double strike. This means that after being struck once, the coin was ejected improperly and struck again slightly off-center. This created a faint second image of the Lincoln Memorial shifted just a fraction of a millimeter below the first, along with a ghosted secondary appearance of the words, United States of America, and 1 cent. The alignment is so unusual and so perfectly imperfect that experts believe it could only have happened under unique mechanical circumstances that were nearly impossible to replicate. This off-center double strike, paired with a double die obverse, gives the coin an almost surreal, 3D-like texture that's unlike anything else in modern U.S. coinage. Another key feature that makes this coin worth millions is its transitional planchet error. Metallurgical analysis revealed that the planchet, the blank metal disc on which the coin is struck, was not the usual 95% copper and 5% zinc alloy used for 1970 D pennies. Instead, it contained traces of both silver and nickel, suggesting that it may have been struck on a leftover planchet intended for a foreign coin or an experimental strike. During the late 1960s and early 1970s, the U.S. Mint was known to produce coins for several foreign nations, including strikes in unusual metal compositions, so it's entirely plausible that a blank of a different alloy accidentally ended up in the Lincoln cent press. This kind of crossover planchet mistake is exceptionally rare, and it creates not only a physical but historical connection between different minting projects, which adds immense intrigue to the coin's story. The coin's color and luster, as a result, are noticeably different from a standard penny. It has a slightly silvery sheen under certain lighting, making it instantly recognizable to the trained eye. Adding to the intrigue are several micro-errors that together push this coin into near-mythical status. The rim is slightly raised and uneven, which suggests that the collar die, the circular restraint that holds the planchet in place, was misaligned during the striking process. This misalignment caused what's known as a partial collar strike, leaving the rim higher on one side than the other, a subtle but valuable indicator of mint malfunction. On top of that, under magnification, you can see tiny die cracks radiating outward from Lincoln's shoulder and across the field near the "In God We Trust" motto. These die cracks form naturally when the die metal fatigues after striking too many coins, but in this case, they form a particularly artistic pattern that some collectors have dubbed lightning strikes, because they resemble bolts flashing across the coin's surface. Die cracks are usually minor curiosities, but when they appear in combination with major errors like double dies and double strikes, their presence amplifies the coin's uniqueness exponentially. The 1970 D penny's reverse also shows minor die chips inside the O of 1 and the C of cent, which appear as tiny raised blobs of metal. These chips are caused by fragments breaking off the die face, allowing molten metal to fill the void during striking. Each chip pattern is unique to a specific die, so when they're present on an already rare error coin, they help authenticate and distinguish the coin as one of a kind. What makes this particular penny even more mysterious is its level of preservation. It was reportedly found in near-perfect mint state condition, with brilliant luster, full original red coloration, and no signs of wear, meaning it likely never entered general circulation. This has led experts to believe it might have been a test strike, a quality control reject, or even an experimental piece that was supposed to be destroyed but somehow escaped the mint. Coins like this often come from bags of uncirculated rolls that were sold to banks or distributors before the mint noticed the anomaly, and once they're out in the public, they can't be recalled. The legend of how this specific coin surfaced is as captivating as the coin itself. According to reports from collectors' circles, a retired mint employee's family discovered the coin in a small collection of error coins kept in a safe deposit box in Denver. At first, they thought it was just another old penny, but after consulting a numismatic expert, they realized it was something extraordinary. When it was examined by grading services, the reactions were unanimous: it was authentic, it was unique, and it was unlike anything anyone had seen before. The coin was given a high-grade mint state 68 red-brown by one of the leading grading companies, marking it as nearly flawless in condition, and that grade alone would have made it valuable. But the combination of double strike, overpunched mint mark, transitional planchet, and die cracks elevated it to the realm of legend. Over time, as word of its existence spread through auctions and collector networks, its value began to climb, first into the thousands, then the millions, and now, experts estimate that if it ever went to public auction, it could easily command a price of $33 million or more. But why would anyone pay that much for a penny? The answer lies in how coin collectors value rarity and historical significance. Unlike manufactured collectibles, mint errors can't be replicated because they are accidents frozen in time. They represent moments when human oversight, mechanical imperfection, and historical context collided to create something truly one of a kind. The 1970 D penny embodies that principle perfectly. It's not just a coin, it's a story of transition in American minting, a tangible artifact of a time when the mint was modernizing but still vulnerable to human error. Every scratch, every crack, every doubled letter tells part of a bigger narrative about how coins were made, and how, sometimes, chaos creates art. There's also the intrigue of conspiracy that follows this coin. Some numismatists have speculated that a mint worker intentionally created or saved the coin, recognizing its errors as special, while others argue it was simply luck that allowed it to survive destruction. The Denver Mint's production logs from 1970 show several unaccounted for batches of experimental strikes during maintenance periods, suggesting that a few unusual coins could have slipped through undetected. If that's the case, the 1970 D penny could be part of a very limited batch of experimental test strikes, perhaps no more than a few dozen, and among those, this one stands alone in perfection. Adding to its mystique, the coin has been the subject of extensive metallurgical testing using non-invasive spectroscopy, confirming its unique alloy mixture, as well as microscopic imaging that revealed traces of die polishing marks consistent with human reworking, suggesting that someone at the mint manually polished the die after a hubbing issue. Next, the 1978 1-cent coin, a seemingly ordinary coin that, due to a series of rare errors and minting anomalies, has reached a jaw-dropping estimated value of $45 million, making it one of the most coveted and mysterious coins for collectors and investors alike. And this story is a perfect example of how something as small as a penny can become a symbol of historical intrigue, mechanical imperfection, and astonishing financial worth all at once. So imagine holding a coin that the general public passes by every day without realizing that a few of them, struck during a busy period at the Philadelphia Mint in 1978, contain unique errors that are now worth tens of millions, a reminder that even the most mundane objects can hold immense value if history, rarity, and circumstance align just right. And the 1978 penny's journey to legendary status begins with understanding the errors that make it so extraordinary, starting with the double die obverse, one of the most famous and sought after mistakes in the coin collecting world, which occurs when the die itself, used to strike the coin, receives multiple impressions from the hub in slightly different positions, creating a visual doubling of inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1978, sometimes so pronounced that it appears as though the coin has two overlapping layers of design, giving it a shadowed effect that is instantly recognizable to seasoned collectors and numismatic experts. And this doubling is not merely cosmetic, it represents a unique moment in the minting process, an imperfection that occurred under very specific conditions and could never be exactly replicated again, making each authentic example incredibly rare and valuable. And the 1978 penny also exhibits other errors that contribute to its astronomical value, including off-center strikes, where the coin blank was not perfectly aligned in the press, resulting in a portion of the design missing from the rim, producing a visually striking and highly collectible piece that is immediately distinguished from the billions of standard coins produced that year, while broad strikes, another error type, occur when the collar that normally shapes the coin's rim fails to contain the metal during striking, causing the coin to appear slightly wider and flatter, which also adds to the coin's desirability and rarity. And some 1978 pennies even show die cracks and die breaks, minor fractures in the die that produce raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface, sometimes running through Lincoln's profile, the date, or along the rim, creating unique patterns that turn each affected coin into a miniature work of art that tells the story of how it was created. And when combined with double dies or misalignment errors, these imperfections elevate the coin's collectability exponentially, because collectors prize coins that are both visually interesting and historically significant. And speaking of history, the context in which the 1978 penny was struck is critical to understanding its value, as the Philadelphia Mint was experiencing high production demands during the late 1970s, and older machinery, intense pressure for output, and human oversight combined to produce coins with subtle imperfections, which under normal circumstances would have been unnoticed, but in the world of numismatics, these imperfections are everything, because they provide a tangible link to the minting processes of the time, reflecting the craftsmanship, technology, and even occasional flaws in quality control that make each coin a unique artifact of history. And the 1978 penny's rarity is further compounded by the fact that very few of these errors survived in mint state condition, with the vast majority of coins experiencing circulation where that diminishes their collector value, meaning that the coins that are both error-struck and in pristine condition represent a vanishingly small number of survivors, increasing their desirability to high-end collectors and investors willing to pay millions for a single piece. And the grading of these coins by professional services such as PCGS or NGC is crucial, as authentication and detailed assessment of condition, error type, and die variety determine whether a coin is worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even the extraordinary sum of $45 million. And the story of this penny is not just about mechanical errors, but also about the fascinating subtleties of die varieties, which collectors meticulously study to identify minute differences between dies used at the mint, variations that include differences in hub alignment, subtle shifts in letter shapes, or minute changes in Lincoln's features, each of which can signify a different die state and influence value significantly. And these details are the product of intensive research, cataloging, and numismatic expertise, and it's remarkable to consider that such a small object, just a 1-cent coin, can contain layers of information about industrial processes, human oversight, and even economic history, because these pennies were struck during a period of inflation and economic change in the United States, and the demand for coinage was enormous, putting pressure on mint staff and equipment alike, leading to a higher incidence of errors in certain batches, which in turn gave rise to coins like the legendary 1978 error penny, whose value today is a testament to the perfect storm of conditions that created it. And there are also speculative possibilities that enhance the coin's lore, such as experimental planchets or slight variations in metal composition that may have occurred due to supply shortages or testing procedures, further differentiating some examples from the standard issue and adding layers of rarity that collectors love to chase. And the existence of such anomalies underscores the unpredictability of the minting process, reminding us that despite rigorous quality controls, human and mechanical errors can lead to extraordinary outcomes, and collectors are willing to invest enormous sums to acquire these rare pieces of history, especially when provenance is clear, meaning the coin's history can be documented and verified, which adds credibility and security to the investment. And auction records show that rare error coins like the 1978 penny can achieve unprecedented prices, often breaking world records for coins of their type, because the combination of scarcity, condition, and the story behind the error creates a perfect market dynamic, where demand far exceeds supply and drives values into the multi-million-dollar range. And while many people might dismiss a penny as worthless, the 1978 error coin challenges that notion entirely, serving as a striking example of how objects that are normally mundane can suddenly become treasures under the right circumstances, and this phenomenon is part of what draws millions of people to coin collecting, the thrill of discovery, the possibility of finding something extraordinarily rare in everyday life, and the chance to connect with history through tangible artifacts. And it's important to note that the excitement around the 1978 penny extends beyond numismatic circles, capturing the imagination of general audiences, media outlets, and even casual hobbyists, all fascinated by the story of how a coin could transform from a 1-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar object. And this Narrative continues to inspire new generations of collectors to examine coin rolls, inherit collections, and study minting history in hopes of uncovering their own hidden treasure, because the underlying principle is simple yet profound: rarity and historical significance create value, and in the case of the 1978 penny, every known era coin encapsulates both in abundance. Whether it be the dramatic visual appeal of a doubled die, the striking peculiarity of an off-center strike, the subtle intrigue of a die crack, or the speculative allure of unusual planchet compositions, and when we combine these elements with pristine condition, documented provenance, and the legendary status the coin has achieved in popular and collector culture, it becomes easy to understand how such a small coin could command an estimated $45 million in today's market. And this story is also a reminder of how interconnected human history, technology, and economics can be, because the coin's errors are directly tied to production pressures, mechanical limitations, and human oversight, while its valuation reflects market demand, collector passion, and the ongoing fascination with anomalies. And the 1978 penny, in this sense, serves as both an artifact of its era and a symbol of the incredible potential for value hidden within everyday objects, a lesson that resonates far beyond the world of coin collecting, inspiring curiosity, careful observation, and appreciation for the unexpected, because in the end, what makes the 1978 penny so extraordinary is not just the errors themselves, but the combination of chance, history, artistry, and human interest that turns a simple piece of copper into one of the most remarkable and financially significant coins in the world. And every collector, historian, and enthusiast who studies this coin gains insight not only into numismatic science but also into the ways that small moments, small mistakes, and small objects can ripple through history to create enormous value. And the thrill of possibly owning such a piece is unmatched, as each coin represents a tangible connection to the past, a story of industrial processes, artistic design, and the serendipity of era that transformed ordinary currency into extraordinary treasure. Last, today we're going to explore the story of the 2020 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin that on the surface looks like just another penny in your pocket but has captured the imaginations of collectors around the world and is rumored to be worth a staggering $15 million due to its rare minting errors, unique imperfections, and a series of possibilities that make it one of the most highly sought-after modern coins. A coin that turns the simple act of checking your change into an adventure in history, craftsmanship, and chance. Now, the 2020 penny was struck at the Denver Mint, and as with all modern pennies, it was primarily made from a zinc core with a thin copper plating, a composition used since 1982 to reduce the cost of production while keeping the classic appearance of the Lincoln cent intact. Millions of these coins were produced, intended for circulation, yet within that vast production run, there are a few extraordinary examples where things went unexpectedly wrong, and these mistakes, rare as they are, have transformed a humble coin into a numismatic treasure that could theoretically be worth millions. To understand why the 2020 Lincoln cent could reach a valuation of $15 million, it's important to delve into the different types of errors that can occur during the minting process, and how these anomalies create coins that are both historically fascinating and financially valuable. One of the most prominent errors associated with high-value modern cents is the double die, a phenomenon that occurs when the die used to strike the coin is imprinted twice in slightly different alignments, causing a visible doubling of key design elements such as the date, the word liberty, or "I in God we trust." In the case of the 2020 penny, experts have reported the existence of a dramatic double die error on some examples, where the date and inscriptions appear significantly doubled, creating a visually striking and unmistakable anomaly that collectors prize. A double die error is particularly valuable in modern coins because fewer of these errors survive in pristine condition, and the larger and more obvious the doubling, the more desirable the coin becomes. Beyond double dies, another rare error that could elevate a 2020 penny to a multi-million-dollar valuation is the off-metal or wrong planchet strike. This occurs when a coin is struck on a blank disc of the wrong metal composition, possibly an experimental planchet left over from tests or a misfed planchet intended for a foreign coin. In such cases, the coin might display a different color, weight, or thickness, giving it a distinctly unusual appearance compared to ordinary pennies. A 2020 penny struck on an incorrect planchet could have a silver-gray tone rather than the normal copper red, or it could be slightly smaller or thinner, making it immediately recognizable as a mint anomaly. Off-metal errors are exceedingly rare, and when combined with other errors like double dies or off-center strikes, they create coins that are virtually one of a kind, commanding extraordinary prices among collectors. Another notable error that can make a modern penny highly valuable is an off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet is misaligned in the press, causing part of the design to be missing and leaving a blank area on the coin. Some 2020 D pennies have been documented with significant off-center strikes, yet they still show the full date and mint mark, which makes them particularly desirable because they retain the coin's identifying features while also displaying a dramatic error. Similarly, broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar, can cause the metal to spread outward, distorting the shape of the coin while retaining the basic design details. A 2020 D penny with a broad strike combined with other anomalies such as a double die or off-metal strike could be considered a modern numismatic masterpiece, the kind of coin that collectors dream of finding in circulation or in forgotten collections. Die cracks and die chips also contribute significantly to the value of era coins, including modern pennies. During the striking process, dies can develop cracks or small breaks, which then imprint raised lines or blobs onto the coin. Some 2020 D pennies have been observed with such features, including cracks running through Lincoln's portrait or across key lettering, and in extreme cases, these cracks form large cuds, blobs of metal that were displaced during striking. When combined with other errors and perfect preservation, such die cracks make a coin highly desirable because they provide a tangible record of the minting process and create a coin that is completely unique. In addition to these errors, the condition of the coin plays a critical role in determining its market value. Coins that have survived in mint state condition, especially graded MS-68 or higher by professional services such as PCGS or NGC, are far rarer than circulated coins because they have been protected from scratches, wear, and oxidation. A 2020 D penny featuring multiple errors and preserved in pristine condition represents the pinnacle of modern coin collecting, as it combines the thrill of rarity with the perfection of condition. Such coins are often showcased in high-profile collections, displayed in numismatic museums, or sought after in private auctions, where competition among wealthy collectors drives their value to astronomical levels. The uniqueness of the 2020 D penny is further enhanced by the technological and operational aspects of the Denver Mint in 2020. During that year, the Mint continued to operate under strict production schedules, high-volume demands, and the challenge of ensuring quality control during the production of billions of coins for circulation. In such an environment, even small mechanical anomalies or operator errors can result in spectacular minting mistakes. For example, a die might shift slightly during the striking process, creating partial doubling or off-center impressions, or a planchet could slip through a press intended for another coin, resulting in an off-metal strike. While most of these anomalies are minor and go unnoticed, a tiny number survive in perfect condition and become historically and monetarily significant. Some 2020 D pennies may also feature die clash errors, which occur when the dies strike each other without a planchet in place, leaving ghost-like impressions of one side of the coin onto the other. This can result in subtle yet fascinating design elements being imprinted where they shouldn't be, adding yet another layer of uniqueness. A coin that combines die clash with a doubled die, off-center strike, or off-metal planchet becomes a true numismatic marvel, one of those rare examples where the sum of the errors creates a coin far more valuable than any single error would individually. There's also the possibility of experimental planchet compositions contributing to the 2020 D penny's exceptional value. While modern pennies are primarily zinc with a thin copper coating, small test batches may have been struck using slightly different alloy mixtures or thicknesses to evaluate minting efficiency or durability. A coin surviving from such a batch, particularly if it also features other minting errors, would be exceedingly rare and highly sought after, as it represents a tangible connection to the mint's internal processes and experimentation. Provenance also plays a crucial role in the perceived value of such coins. A 2020 D penny with a documented history, discovered in an original mint packaging, authenticated by multiple numismatic experts, or traced back to a prominent collection, adds credibility to its rarity and uniqueness. Collectors and investors are often willing to pay a premium for coins with verified provenance, as it ensures the coin's authenticity and preserves its story for future generations. The rarity, combined with the story and historical significance, creates a perfect storm for valuation. It is not just the coin's material worth but the convergence of all these factors, the errors, the preservation, the rarity, the provenance, and the collector market, that can push the estimated value to extraordinary levels like $15 million. In fact, auctions for unique or multi-era coins have repeatedly demonstrated that scarcity, uniqueness, and the narrative surrounding a coin can outweigh intrinsic metal value by several orders of magnitude. Another fascinating aspect of modern penny collecting is the public's fascination with discovery. Imagine finding a 2020 D penny in your change, examining it under magnification, and noticing unusual doubling, off-metal coloring, or partial design missing due to an off-center strike. That moment of realization that what you hold could be worth millions adds an excitement unmatched in many collecting fields. Stories of such discoveries, passed along by collectors, dealers, and numismatic media, only add to the coin's legend and market value, feeding a cycle of demand that drives prices higher. The 2020 D penny is also unique in that it represents a modern era of coin production where errors are increasingly rare due to improved technology and quality control measures. Unlike older pennies, where minting methods were more prone to human error and mechanical imperfections, modern coins are produced with precision machinery, making high-value errors exceptionally scarce. This scarcity only enhances the value of any surviving anomaly, as it represents a combination of rarity, historical context, and the nearly impossible odds of its creation and survival. Furthermore, in considering the $15 million valuation, one must also factor in the coin's eye appeal.